There is a particular kind of disorientation that nobody warns you about. Not the kind that comes from making a wrong turn and knowing it. That kind is uncomfortable, but at least it's clear. You know what happened. You know where you went wrong. You can trace the steps back and try again. The kind I'm talking about is different. It's the disorientation of doing everything right, or at least everything you knew to do, and still ending up somewhere that doesn't look anything like where you were trying to go. Following the plan, putting in the effort, moving in the direction that made the most sense, and then finding yourself in a place that feels unfamiliar, uncertain. Like the map you were using no longer matches the territory you're standing in. That feeling has a name, and it is not failure. It is not a sign that you made the wrong choices. It is not evidence that the life you want is out of reach. It is redirection. And redirection is not the same as being lost, not even close. Being lost means you have no direction. Redirection means you are being moved, precisely and intentionally, towards something better than what you were originally heading for. It just doesn't feel that way from inside it. That's what this is about. Because if you are watching this, you are somewhere you didn't plan to be. And I want to offer you a way of seeing that place that changes everything about how you move through it. The first thing, the detour is not a mistake. It is the route. There is a version of your life that you planned, a sequence of events, a timeline, a trajectory that made sense based on everything you knew at the time you made the plan. And for a while, things moved in that direction. And then something shifted. A door closed. A path narrowed. Something you were counting on stopped being available. And the version of your life you had been moving toward started to look different than you expected. And the mind immediately interprets that as something going wrong, as evidence of failure, as a deviation from the correct path that needs to be corrected as quickly as possible. But what if the path you planned was always just the starting point? What if the life that's actually meant for you was never going to be accessible from the route you originally mapped out? What if the deviation, the unexpected turn, the door that closed, what if all of that was the navigation system working correctly, not breaking down? Because here is what is true about every person who has ever built a life that actually felt like theirs. None of them got there by following the original plan exactly. Every single one of them was redirected at some point, often multiple times, often in ways that felt like catastrophic failure in the moment. And every single one of them, looking back, could trace a clear line from the redirection to the destination. A line they never could have drawn in advance. You are on that line right now. You just can't see where it leads yet. Second, what you were redirected away from was not what you think it was. When something doesn't work out the way you planned, the natural instinct is to mourn what you lost. The relationship that didn't last. The opportunity that didn't come through. The version of your future that stopped being available. And the mourning is real and the grief is appropriate and you should not rush through it. But at some point, the mourning shifts into something else. Into a story about what that loss means. About what it says about you. About whether the life you want is actually possible for you. And that story is almost always wrong. Because what you were redirected away from was not your destination. It was a waypoint. A place you needed to pass through in order to get to where you're actually going. It gave you something, a lesson, a clarity, a version of yourself that you couldn't have developed any other way, and then it stepped aside so the next thing could come. The relationship that ended gave you the knowledge of what real love needs to feel like. The job that fell through gave you the clarity of what work actually fits you. The plan that collapsed gave you the honesty of what you actually want versus what you thought you were supposed to want. None of it was wasted. All of it was data. And all of it is part of what is navigating you right now towards something more precisely aligned with who you actually are than what you originally planned. Third, the uncertainty you feel right now is not a problem. It is a passage. There's a phase in every redirection that feels like pure uncertainty, like standing in the middle of something without being able to see the edges, like the old direction is gone and the new one hasn't revealed itself yet, and you are suspended in the space between them. This phase is brutal, because the human mind wants to know, wants a plan, wants to see the path laid out before it takes the first step. And when the path isn't visible, the mind interprets that as danger, as something being wrong, as a problem that needs to be solved immediately. But the uncertainty is not a problem. It is a passage, a necessary corridor between what was and what is coming. And the only way through it is through it. You cannot think your way out of it. You cannot plan your way around it. You cannot force the next direction to reveal itself before it is ready. What you can do is stay present in it. Stay open inside it. Stop fighting the uncertainty and start moving with it. Because on the other side of this corridor is something that will make sense of everything that currently doesn't. And you cannot get there without passing through where you are right now. Fourth, your instincts right now are more reliable than your fears. There's a voice underneath the confusion, underneath the anxiety about not knowing what comes next, underneath the mind's constant attempts to plan and predict and control the outcome. A quieter voice, a steadier one that doesn't panic the way your thoughts do. That voice has been trying to tell you something, maybe a direction that keeps pulling at you that you keep dismissing because it doesn't seem practical. Maybe a type of work or relationship or way of living that keeps appearing in your thinking that you keep pushing away because it doesn't fit the plan. Maybe just a persistent sense that there is something on the other side of this uncertainty that is worth moving toward, even though you can't yet see it clearly. That voice is not wishful thinking. That voice is not naive optimism. That voice is your deeper knowing, the part of you that has access to information your conscious mind doesn't, pointing you in the direction you are being redirected toward. The fears are loud. The doubts are convincing. The anxiety about not knowing is real and persistent and hard to argue with. But the quiet voice underneath all of it is more reliable. It always has been. And right now, it is trying to navigate you somewhere worth going. Trust it more than you trust the noise. Fifth, where you are being redirected is better than where you were going. I want you to consider something. The version of your life that you were originally heading toward, the one the plan was building toward, was designed by a version of you that didn't know what you know now, that didn't have the clarity you have now, that hadn't been through what you've been through, that was working with a much earlier and less complete understanding of what you actually need to feel at peace. The redirection is not taking you away from what you want. It is taking you toward what you actually want, as opposed to what the earlier version of you thought you wanted. And that distinction is everything. Because the life that's assembling itself on the other side of this uncertainty, the one being built out of every lesson this season has taught you, every door that closed, every unexpected turn that brought you here, that life is not a consolation prize. It is not a lesser version of what you originally planned. It is a more honest version, a more aligned version, a version that fits who you actually are instead of who you thought you were supposed to become. And you are being navigated toward it right now. Even in the moments it doesn't feel that way. Even when all you can see is where you are, not where you're going, the redirection is working. Trust it, so here's what I want you to do right now. Slow breath in, hold it, let it go, and say this out loud. Mean it. I am not lost. I am being redirected. And where I am going is better than where I was. One more time. Slowly. I am not lost. I am being redirected. And where I am going is better than where I was. Let that settle into something real. Because the place you are in right now, the uncertainty, the unfamiliarity, the sense of being somewhere you didn't plan, that is not a sign that something went wrong. It is a sign that something is working, that the navigation system of your life is functioning exactly as it should, moving you away from what wasn't right and toward what is. You are not off track. You're being redirected onto the right one. And very soon, not someday, not eventually, but soon, you're going to feel the shift. The path is going to start becoming visible again. And when it does, you will understand exactly why everything that brought you here had to happen the way it did. If this found you when you needed it, leave one word in the comments. Redirected. Just that. Because naming where you are is the first step toward moving through it. And if someone you know is in the middle of feeling lost right now, share this with them. Sometimes all a person needs to keep going is to know that lost and redirected are not the same thing.